SV Math Teach back again. This time we're going to talk about volumes of cylinders. Remember, if you like these videos, subscribe and help me out. Let's keep this channel moving. With that in mind, let's talk about the volume of cylinders, which, well, cylinder is basically a soup can, right? Pringles can, something that looks like this drawing down here. And a cylinder has a couple different parts. It normally has a radius. It always has a radius. Center of the circle out to the edge is the radius. The height is going to be perpendicular to the radius. And the area of a circular base is kind of an idea of this, right? So I'm going to teach you a formula, but the formula is going to be based on this area here being multiplied by whatever this height is. And that's going to be true no matter whether we turn this thing on its side or not. So although I'm going to show you a more specific formula down below, the volume of just about anything, I can't spell it, it seems, the volume of just about anything is what I'm going to call the big base. All right? It's the base of the object that's the same object going the whole way through it. So this base is the same base that goes the whole way through the shape, and that's just multiplied by height. So it's really just big base times height, and then all we need to do is calculate the big base, multiply it by its perpendicular height, and we're almost always done. Specifically in a cylinder, here's what the formula looks like. Okay? You might recognize pi r squared. That's going to give you the area of what I'm calling the big base. And we multiply that by height. Right? So it's big base times height. That's all this is. Let's get rid of all these markings on here. So let's do it. The formula, volume is pi r squared h. The radius is 6. The height is 10. So I'm going to substitute those numbers in. So I have pi times 6 squared times 10. Right? You can do that. Now I'm going to evaluate the 6 squared part and get 36. Pi times 36 times 10. And 36 times 10 is 360. And we like to write the number before the pi symbol. So I'm done at 360 pi. So 360 pi. And the only thing I'm going to change on here is volume is measured in cubic units. So I'm going to go ahead and put centimeters cubed. Right? That's it. 360 pi. Let's move the pi over a little bit. 360 pi centimeters cubed. That's the exact answer. Notice the exact symbol right here. That's the exact number. Now, when we go to approximate it, we simply swap out the pi for 3.14 and we multiply. So 360 times 3.14 and 1130.4, same unit, centimeters cubed, and we're done. All right? Plug the stuff in, calculate it without using the 3.14. That'll give you your exact, and then go ahead and use the 3.14, and that'll give you your approximate. Let's do another one, just so you know that I'm not kind of messing with you here. Calculate the height of this cylinder with the volume of, so look, this one's a little different, right? In this one, they actually give me the volume of the cylinder. That's different. They give me the radius, and they're asking me to calculate the height. So we're trying to figure out what the height is in this one, okay? Fine. The only thing I know is the volume formula is pi r squared h. And I know that it gave me some information. I know that it gave me the volume was 500 pi, so it gave me an exact answer. It gave me the radius was 20. So I'm going to put the 500 pi and the 20 in the formula and see what happens. So 500 pi goes in the volume spot. I have pi, I have 20, and radius is squared, so it's 20 squared, and height. All right. I would normally tell my students solve for h, solve for the variable that's left over. So to solve for h, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides. And the reason I'm using division is because pi and 20 squared and h are all being multiplied together. I can undo that multiplication with division. So I'm going to divide by pi, and we're going to divide by 20 squared, which, by the way, 20 times 20 is just 400. So on the other side, I'm going to go ahead and write 400 pi. So I want you to recognize that these are the same. Hopefully that's not going to throw anybody off. Let's zoom in a little bit and solve this problem. Now, because I'm about to cancel, I'm going to switch to red. Pi cancels out pi. 20 squared cancels out 20 squared. On the other side, pi cancels pi. And all these zeros cancel out, right? Because essentially that's just dividing by 100. So now I have 5/4 equals h. Done. My height is 5/4 of, are we in inches? No, we're in centimeters. So it's 5/4 of a centimeter, or 1.25 centimeters. That's it. right? So use your formula, plug in your numbers, and solve. Now I have one more example. What happens if we give you a problem that looks like this one, where instead of asking for the height, they're asking for the radius? Calculate the radius, right? So the task is calculate the radius. I'm going to go ahead and do the same exact thing that I did before. I'm going to write the formula. I'm going to plug in what I know. This time it gives me an approximate volume. That's fine. So 325 is my approximate volume. The height is 12.3, so I'm going to put 12.3 in here. So pi radius squared and 12.3. Now the only thing that I'm going to change here is because I'm actually not going to change anything initially. I'm still going to just solve for my r. So I'm going to go ahead and put on the bottom pi, because I want to get rid of pi, and I want to get rid of the 12.3. So I'm going to divide by those two things. But because we're dealing with approximations, I don't want the pi symbol really hanging in there. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply 12.3 times, not plus, times 3.14, and I get 38,622. Now that's a pretty precise answer, but let's go ahead and use it. 38.622. I'm using a calculator anyway, so it's not like it makes it difficult. So pi cancels pi, 12.3 cancels 12.3, and on the other side I have 325 divided by this decimal. So let's do it. 325 divided by 38.622. Now I definitely have a long decimal coming out here. I have to admit, since I'm rounding anyway, I'm going to go ahead and round this. 8.41 sounds pretty fair. And the thing that's left over is r squared. Now, take the square root of both sides, and that will get rid of the square. And the square root of 8.41, I'm definitely rounding at this point, so I'm going to do the square root of 8.41. And I get 2.9. Now, that's not going to be the exact answer. We've already admitted that it's going to be an approximate answer. We're dealing in inches, so I'll deal with inches. But I'm going to go ahead and say that that is a really good, watch what I'm doing, approximation of my answer. Right? That's a good approximation of my height, of my radius.